Hello beautiful people and welcome to another video. In this one I'll be working on this small Art Deco chest of drawers. What do you think? What are we gonna do with this? Hmm? So this is actually a vanity because it used to have a mirror but didn't come with it, and I bought it from a lady that I found on Facebook Marketplace, and she started working on this but gave up halfway through. This is a very unusual damage to the veneer. There's lots of little bubbles, and I think the person who was meant to upcycle this, they just gave up on it when she realized that she would have to replace the veneer. I think she was trying to fix it in some other ways, but that obviously didn't work. And let's address the elephant in the room. So there's half of the side missing. I think there was a major blow to the side, whatever happens, so I'll need to replace the whole piece. Looks like this is broken as well. Basically need to replace this piece of plywood, and I need to reglue this because it's broken. And because I was going to replace the side panel, I decided to replace all of the plywood, and instead of veneering the top, which someone sanded through, I decided to replace the whole plywood as well. So I figured that I could just use the top as a template for the new piece of plywood, and that would actually save me trying to color match the old veneer to the new one, and this was just going to be much easier to replace all of it. Because this is Art Deco, so it's quite old and not particularly straight, so not all the measurements are identical on both sides. I marked everything to make sure that I would put it back in the right orientation to avoid any issues. Once I got all the nails out, I removed the other panels as well, and this one was intact, so I just used this as a template for the new panel. These panels were held in place by nails and some glue, so it was pretty straightforward to remove them. I'm guessing that they're not identical, so I'm gonna mark this one to make sure that this will go on the left side. This stretcher, or whatever you call this, was broken in half, and this is what the panel was resting on and was held by, so I just injected some glue and clamped it together. I removed these pieces of plywood that the sliders were attached to, and I just put new sliders back in place instead. To make sure that this stretcher was strong enough, on top of gluing it back together, I made a small brace just by using a few screws and a small piece of wood, and that would just give it an extra support. This whole thing is loose, so I just need to put a little bit of glue and a couple of nails to make sure I've got a good substrate for the piece of plywood I'm going to put on top. And once everything was structurally sound and stable, I started scraping and sanding.
2,000 years later.
When I was finally done with that, I did a little bit more sanding, but this time by hand, and then I sprayed some of the scratches that I made while scraping, so the wood would expand and allow me to sand it smooth. And apparently some of you like my knees, so this one is for you. You're welcome. Pretty much as soon as I started posting YouTube videos, I've been getting comments saying something like, "Oh, I wish you could restore my face the way you restored this piece of furniture." Well, I haven't been able to do anything about it until now. Hi, this is my bedroom, and this is for your bird too. And I'm gonna show you how you can restore your face. It comes with an app. This is called Conducting Serum. And the app has all sorts of pre-programmed treatments, so you can just select one and it will just tell me what to do, because I actually have no idea. Bird 2 by Forio has 4 exclusive microcurrent types that help to tighten your skin and muscles while making your face brighter, more plump and sculpted. It's actually a really funny sensation, a pleasant one.
Toward your hairline. Crowds going wild.
I think it's got some sort of massage going on at the same time.
We hope you enjoyed your facial workout.
I sure did. That was actually pretty nice. Bird 2 by Forio uses different types of microcurrent to tone, lift and contour your face, improve wrinkles and sagging, reduce puffiness, make your skin brighter while being super easy to use. Bird 2 is an advanced microcurrent facial toning device. It doesn't go on sale very often, and with my link you can get it with 30% discount, and for the first 50 people who use my link you'll get an extra 10% off with my coupon code DRAWERS10. For all of you who have been saying that you want me to restore your face, this might be the answer, and thanks to Forio for sponsoring this video. Well, that was fun. I bet you didn't expect to see a beauty product in my video. By the way, pink is the new black. Anyhow, so the panels that were actually in one piece, I used them as templates to make new ones, and I basically just traced the shape and used my track saw to cut new panels. As I mentioned, this was not exactly straight, so there was no rectangles or squares, and I had to adjust the shape of every panel to make it fit. And because of the curve on the bottom, I had to come up with a contraption to allow me to actually sand it and get the same shape. But to get the basic shape of the panel, I just use my jigsaw. And this is the contraption that I was talking about. It's basically like a drum thingy with a sandpaper on it. You just stick it in your drill and bob's your uncle. I didn't expect it to fit, but I used my block plane to shave off a little bit on one side, and that did the trick. To make the other panel, I used the panel that I already had and I traced it and cut the second one, but I made it slightly oversized just to make sure it would actually fit, because they were not the same. I don't know what those noises are, but I promise I'm not keeping small children in my basement. To attach the panels, I used brad nails and a little bit of wood glue. And here I'm just sanding a little bit of wood filler that I used for the edge because the cut wasn't perfect. This was a really tight fit, at least on those three sides, so I only used clamps on the back side. Once I was done with that, I started taking off the veneer from the drawers, and the first one I just used my chisel, but that actually took quite a long time, so I was much smarter with the second one, and I just used my electric planer. That was much easier. For the drawers, I was going to use veneer instead of plywood, so I cut a long strip and I basically measured to make sure I have enough, and I taped off all the edges to make sure I wouldn't get contact adhesive on the veneer where I didn't want it to go. If you watch my videos, you know that sometimes I use wood glue, sometimes it's contact adhesive. It just depends what I've got available. And this time I'm using contact adhesive, and I like to use the one that's really runny. It's just much easier to apply because the gel one, it gets tacky really quickly and you don't have much time to work with it. This is pretty self-explanatory, but I basically made sure that I got it evenly on the entire surface, especially the edges, to make sure that the veneer wouldn't lift. As always, huge thank you to everyone who watches my videos, especially the channel members. You guys are awesome. If you enjoy my videos and feeling generous, you can show me and the cat some love by checking out the links in the description. I get many comments from people who say that they don't like dark wood and stained wood. So for a change, I thought I would do something different, and this project is going to be very light. I'll probably stain it, but it's not going to change the color a lot from what it is right now. When you're using contact adhesive or contact cement, as the name suggests, you need to make sure that both surfaces touch each other, otherwise they're not going to adhere. And the wooden tool that I was using, I just made it myself, and it helps me make sure that I apply enough pressure to both surfaces so they stick to each other. Once the veneer was firmly in place, I used my trim router and a sanding block to make sure it was nice and smooth. And once I was done with that, I did a bit more sanding because, you know, I love sanding. The insides of the drawers were not in a terrible state, so I just dusted them off and I used mineral spirits to give them a really good clean. with the scratchy thing. And because you can never do enough sanding, I did a little bit more of that. Because I'm in the UK, I used a torch, not a flashlight, to make sure there was no scratches. And because I found some, I did a bit more sanding. There were two black stains. They were not terrible, so I just used mineral spirit to see if they would come off. They didn't. I mean, it helped a little bit, but I also used hydrogen peroxide, and that did the trick. I also sanded and cleaned with mineral spirit the inside of this chest of drawers, or whatever you want to call this, and it was nice and clean. And if you watch my videos, you know that I always sand the back and the bottom, so that's exactly what I did. And those two pieces that I'm removing, I think they used to hold a mirror, but the mirror wasn't there, so I just took them off. And surprise, surprise, I did more sanding. And I also used this cute little laser thingy to put my logo on the back. So as I said, I didn't really want to make this dark, so I used this stain, which is grayish in color, and it's called driftwood. So as you can see, it's not really changing much the color, but it will give it that worn out, washed out look, like something that you would find on the beach. So that's what I'm going for, and I don't know what it's gonna look like because I've never actually used it before. I think I actually lied to you. I did use it on one of my other projects, but it was just on the drawer fronts, I think. So this is what it looks like with the stain, and I'm a bit torn, to be honest, because I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I just don't know how I feel about it. And I could either just apply tinted oil, because I actually have hard wax oil that's a bit gray on top of it, and just go with this, or change the color completely. I don't know. What do you think? I decided that I'm going to try and make tinted oil, and this is just some clear satin Osmo hard wax oil. So because this chest of drawers is grayish in color, I think I'm gonna tint it brown, and when it mixes with gray, I think it will give me that driftwood type of finish that I want. All right, let's try this. This one. I'm taping off the legs because I've got a plan for them, and you'll see in a minute what I came up with. So this is what the tinted oil looks like. As you can see, it's not gonna change the color a whole lot, but it will a little bit, and I think that's gonna be enough. And to be honest, this whole project was a huge experiment, and I actually tried a couple other things that you will see later in the video. And yeah, just wanted to see how it goes and try something new. And for a change, not stain the wood much darker than it is. Despite the fact that the veneer and the plywood that I used were brand new and from the same supplier, they didn't quite look the same, but this tinted oil and the stain helped a little bit to make it look more or less the same. As always, I put some oil on the back to make it look nice. This might be potentially a very stupid idea, but I've got some brass metal powder and UV resin, and I'm gonna mix these two together and try to make these wooden legs look like they're made of brass. Never tried this before, don't know if it's gonna work, but I feel like experimenting, so let's give it a go. Worst case scenario, I'm just gonna ruin the legs. I will need to come up with an idea to fix them. I'm hoping that if I mix this powder with the resin, then I can give it a light polish and it will make this brass powder shiny, but I don't know. I think this would work. If it hardens, I think it will work. There's only one way to find out. It's looking okay. I think I'm gonna hit the side of it so it doesn't drip. Well, this absolutely sucked and I ended up painting the legs because they look terrible. Anyhow, I used this contraption thing to drill holes for the hardware and I attached the handles. I don't really know how I feel about this and maybe it will grow on me. I don't hate it, but I definitely don't love it. I hope at least some of you like this, and you can't always win, so I don't know. Anyhow, thank you so much for watching the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have, comment, like and subscribe, and I'll love you forever. Check out the links in the description and the link for the Bear 2 Florio. Enjoy the final results and see you in the next video.